You think you've got time. You hear people say things like 60 is the new 40, and you let it comfort you. You look around and think, I'm still pretty healthy. My mind still works. Life is finally calmer, and you imagine decades ahead of you easy, wide open, like a long Sunday that never ends. It doesn't work like that. I'm 97 years old. I was alive when Franklin Roosevelt was in the White House. I've buried my husband, my parents, 2 siblings, and more friends than I can count. And I'm telling you this as plainly as I can. Your 60s aren't the start of your golden years. Your 60s are your last real window to prepare for what comes next, because what comes next is tougher than you think. I spent 38 years as a high school guidance counselor in Pittsburgh. I retired at 70. That means my 60s were filled with winding down a career, helping my children through their own midlife storms, and trying to imagine what life would look like afterward. I thought I was ready. I had savings. I had plans. I had a husband I adored, kids who checked in, grandkids who ran into my arms when I walked through the door. And I still wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for my body to start changing in ways that no amount of willpower could fix. I wasn't ready for the kind of loneliness that drives when loss becomes routine. I wasn't ready for my husband of 63 years to collapse and die in a hardware store on an ordinary Tuesday while I was at home writing a grocery list. I wasn't ready to wake up in a hospital after a stroke, unable to move the left side of my body, realizing I could no longer live alone. So no, this isn't advice from someone who mastered life. This is a warning from someone who wishes she had listened sooner. If you're in your 60s, let me give you what I learned the hard way. One, builds strength now while your body's still responding. I was 62. I could walk 3 miles without thinking. I carried groceries upstairs. I got down on the floor with my grandchildren and stood back up like it was nothing. I assumed that would always be true, because it always had been. By 75, a mile felt like an accomplishment. By 80, I had to pause halfway up the stairs. By 84, a stroke took what independence I had left. Here's the part nobody likes to hear. The muscle you lose after 60 is difficult to regain. Your balance becomes something you have to actively maintain. Your body starts charging interest for every year you ignored it. So if you can walk now, walk. If you can lift now, lift safely. If you can practice balance now, do it. Because if you don't, you may reach your 80s with a mind that still wants to live and a body that refuses to cooperate. Your circle will shrink, so widen it on purpose. I had 3 close friends, women I'd known since my 30s. We met every Tuesday for lunch for decades. We talked through everything: kids, marriages, cancer scares, aging parents, the whole messy truth of life. I thought those friendships would last forever. They didn't. One died of a heart attack. One died of cancer. One died quietly after a slow decline. And suddenly I was the last one left. I didn't make enough new friends. In my 60s, because I assumed I had enough, I didn't realize how quickly enough can turn into almost none. Your children can love you deeply and still not replace what a lifelong friend gives you, someone who remembers you at 35, who knew your parents, who stood at your wedding, who watched you become you. Make new friends now older, younger, neighbors, hobby friends, church friends, volunteer friends. Cast a wide net. You don't know who will still be here in 20 years. 3 talk about death and money, while everyone can still talk when my mother had a stroke. She couldn't speak afterward. She lived a few more years, and we had no idea what she wanted. Machines or comfort care? Where were the documents? What were the account details? We guessed, argued, and made decisions under stress. I promised myself I wouldn't do that to my children, and I nearly did anyway. Because these conversations are uncomfortable, but discomfort is not a reason to avoid reality. Have the conversations now. Put things in writing. Make sure someone you trust knows where everything is. This isn't inviting death. Death doesn't need an invitation. This is protecting the people you love from chaos. For retirement won't fix you, it will reveal Yahweh dreamed about retirement. No more early mornings. No more paperwork. No more constant responsibility. I imagined travel, gardening, reading, peace. Then I retired and felt lost for decades. I had an identity, the counselor, the helper, the steady person who always knew what to say. Without work, I didn't know who I was. It took years to rebuild meaning through hobbies, volunteering, small routines, and relationships. If your job is your whole identity, retirement will feel like a cliff. Start building a life outside work now, something that belongs to you even when the paychecks stop. 5. You have fewer good years with your spouse than you think. 63 years of marriage sounds like a huge number, but when I look back, the truly free years, the years with enough health and energy for adventure, were fewer than I imagined. Life is busy when you're young. Then you finally get time, and your bodies start slowing down. Then decline becomes part of the schedule. So don't postpone everything you want to do together. Take more trips. Say yes more often. Stay out later. Laugh more. Don't assume the healthy years are unlimited. They aren't. 6. Forgive sooner, because you don't control the deadly spent years not speaking to a family member over pride and being right. And then they died, just like that. No warning that the chance to repair things was about to disappear. If you're holding a grudge, ask yourself what it's costing you. Pride doesn't keep you warm when someone's gone. 7, your adult children don't need constant advice. They need Yahweh thought I was helping by offering guidance. I had decades of experience. I knew how to fix problems. But my children didn't need a counselor. They needed a mother, someone who showed up, listened, held babies, ate dinner at their table, and loved them without trying to manage their lives. Presence is harder than advice, but it's what lasts. 8 Write things down because memory changes. 7. The best minds blur with time. Names slip, dates slip, details disappear. If you don't capture your stories, they vanish. Write down your family recipes, the stories you want your grandchildren to know, what you believe, what you learned, who you were before you became old. 9. You'll be afraid. Dan Courage is moving anyway, was terrified of getting old, losing my husband, becoming dependent. I tried not to think about it, as if ignoring fear could keep it from becoming real. It didn't. Some of my worst fears happened and I'm still here. Different, diminished in some ways, but still capable of joy. Courage isn't a feeling, it's action in the presence of fear. 10 times speeds up fast. Last decades move quicker than the first ones. Years start collapsing into each other. You blink and suddenly you're older than you ever pictured. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you so you pay attention. Pay attention in your 60s. Be present in your 70s. Say I love you while people can still hear it. Take the trip. Make the call. Forgive the grudge. Because one day you'll look up and realize the window was smaller than you thought. You still have time, just not as much as your comfort is trying to convince you.